Good morning and welcome to our Monday marketing. We used to say Monday marketing motivation, but I'm just going to call it Monday marketing from now on. Hi, my name is Jeanne Grunert. I am the president of Seven Oaks Consulting. I am a fractional chief marketing officer, content strategist, and highly experienced and skilled copywriter. Welcome, 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 welcome back. What started as a brief hiatus because I was on vacation back in December turned into a couple of months. So I'm not going to say anything more about that, but I missed you guys. I'm glad to be back and teaching again. And today we are going to look at some really interesting research that just came out. I found it through a website called Sword and the Script. A original research was published on Search Engine Land, and I am including the links to that in the blog post that will accompany this. They're also on the last slide if you want to take them down. But I think this study is so important. I had to talk to you about it today because it's really reaffirming everything that we as content marketers and marketing experts have kind of felt in our gut over the last couple of months, even a year, ever since there's been this crazy push to have AI everything, right? I don't know about you, but organizations where I've been filling in as like a fractional chief marketing officer, a content strategist, a lot of them said, no, we don't need any more freelancers. We want to turn to our AI tools. And they've begun using AI to generate everything from their social media posts to their articles and case studies and whatnot. Some of them came out good. Some of them, I would have done them differently. But we didn't have any research to back up our feelings about this. And what's happened now is a group, a man named Bogdan Babiak, and the search engine ranking team. I'm looking down at notes that I took about this article, so forgive me for looking down. I will have a PowerPoint up in a minute, but Bogdan Babiak and the search engine ranking team published in Search Engine Land research. And I'm going to go over this research today because the key takeaway is that AI generated content doesn't perform well in search. It's not that Google is ignoring it. It's got other reasons. It's got other problems. And it kind of felt like I was vindicated a little bit when I saw the study. And so what I'd like to do now is go to my PowerPoint and go over that with you guys. So I'm sharing my screen now, and you can see it. So let's take a look. So today's marketing motivation, I'm Jeanne. There I am. There's my company. You can find us online. Today we're going to talk about the study that finds AI generated content performs poorly in search. I found this article in Sword in the Script. The author of the article was a man named Frank Strong. The date of the study was 2026. Specifically, Frank published this article in March of 2026. I forgot the original date for the search engine ranking study itself, but I believe it was most recently published. So it is very recent research. So what questions did the researchers ask? Well, they had three big questions. Can generative AI produce large volumes of content that rank and perform well in search? That was the key questions. And the reason they asked that question was many marketers really hope that AI could scale content cheaply and quickly. And that assumption was put to the test with this study. So the big question the study was trying to answer was, can Gen AI produce large volumes of content that will rank and perform well in search? Now, how did they conduct this study? Well, it was a good study, I think, because they had 20 new domains purchased across 20 industries. So they really tested it, I think, very thoroughly against in different industries to see how well they would perform. They started with a clean slate. The study's domains that they purchased had no backlinks, no domain authority, no brand recognition, and no search history. So everything started off equal, which is another good point of the study. They then created 100 AI-generated articles per website with 100 long-tail how-to keywords. Again, I like this study because it's like apples to apples. It's like the only thing that was different was the industries, but it was testing the exact same thing in multiple industries across 20 different sites to see what the results would be. They then published all these articles, submitted the sites to Search Console, and left them untouched. So here's how they did. So in month one, 71% of the articles were indexed. Now, that was surprisingly high for zero authority domains. I didn't look up what the average is for that, but I would suspect it's lower if they're saying it's surprisingly high. And across all 20 domains, they had 120,000 impressions and 244 clicks. So for brand new sites with zero domain authority, zero backlinks, and no promotion, because they didn't do any other promotion of these, no sharing on social media, no ad campaigns, nothing, that looked pretty promising at first glance. But take a look at how the stats drop off after a while. Oops, sorry about that, guys. So in 6 months, now the impressions are down. They went from 122,000 to 706, and the clicks went up slightly, but performance plateaued and then it stayed flat. They're getting about one click for every two articles, which is not great. If I were their consultant, I would be urging them to do a few things differently already, but that's where they were at 6 months. Now, check this out, 16 months. That's more than a year after they launched the study. They only got another 300,000 impressions and 381 clicks. That's terrible. Look at this. Total after 16 months, a little bit over a million impressions and under 1,500 clicks, over 20 websites and 2,000 articles. That's less than one click per article. This is very low engagement, folks. And again, this was across multiple industries. Now, what's the conclusion? AI generated content didn't perform well in search. And the data is reinforcing what marketers suspected. The key takeaway is AI produces average content, and average content doesn't rank well. You need to be extraordinary these days. You need that human touch. And so, what the study is showing us is that when all things are equal and we start with a clean slate, the AI content will get a little bit of a boost at the start, but then it drops off. Now, why? Well, there's a couple of reasons why this content didn't rank well. Now, some of this, we don't know if they apply these fixes to it, would it rank well? Maybe that's what they're testing next. I don't know. But Babiak, the original, I apologize, Mr. Babiak, if I am not pronouncing your name correctly, but I'm doing my best here. But the analysis highlighted several core issues. So there's no backlinks or external validation. We do know that that's important. It is an important component of SEO, and it remains an important component of SEO. So maybe if you add that, it could help. There are no authors, credentials, or real world experience. That's so important, right? Anytime I have found I can interweave some personal anecdotes into a piece, all of a sudden it seems to get a little bit more resonance with the audience and with the search engine. So that's real important. AI is interesting in that it's producing readable content that is grammatically correct, but it cannot layer in human insight, creativity, and innovation that people bring to content. So what happens is it just looks like everything else that's out there, and therefore it doesn't rank well. Google looks at it, scans it, can't find any differentiator with it. It's ranked, but nobody's clicking on it. There's also no internal linking or topical structure. They did that on purpose just to test the ranking factor. Again, that may help because it would enable the search engines to go from piece to piece. It would tell the search engines that a human is behind the site and there's some natural architecture going on there. So if I were to go in here, I would definitely focus on these four critical areas. But I don't think it's going to get the results that original human produced content will get. So the biggest problem this study points out is what they've dubbed the sea of sameness. AI is enabling us to do things more quickly, no doubt about it. But what's happening is it's mass producing generic content. And it's making what they've dubbed the sea of sameness. If you can imagine all these articles kind of like floating on a lake, it's just everything looks the same. And when everything looks the same, nothing ranks well. Competitors are just mimicking each other's language. Everything sounds the same. And when content is indistinguishable from one another, prospects go back to familiar brands, names they know, people they know, things like that. And newer, smaller brands who are trying to scale up with AI generated content, they're actually losing visibility and trust. So the interesting thing with AI stuff is the issues in business to business marketing are all of these things here. And I have seen this repeatedly. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with business to business companies that I've worked with where I'm urging them to do something different, make your mark. And the pushback, usually from above, from the C-suite, is no, we have to look like the competitors. And in some ways you do. I'm not saying that you don't, because if a website, for example, the appearance of it or the structure of it is so far out from everybody else in the industry, that can lose trust. But you do need to have originality and thoughts in your content, and AI can't do that. So what's happening is it's just amplifying long-standing issues in B2B marketing. AI amplifies, it accelerates and amplifies. So if it's applied to content, it will accelerate content production, but it will amplify any flaws in your content system. And that's what's going on. People still matter. People bring context, connection, interpretation, and uniqueness to your content. AI cannot do that. So if you have switched to an entirely AI built model, I would urge you to bring people back into the mix. Have some original, hello, human copywriters, get in there and write your stuff. I don't even think having them edit AI content anymore is going to do it. I've seen people trying that, and their stuff still doesn't rank well. It has to have that human touch. Without it, it's just the same as what everybody else is putting out there. Another interesting point of this study was what they've dubbed the statistical ceiling of AI. Now, a statistical ceiling is a common term, but what we're seeing with AI is that the large language models are trained on the entire internet or on a data bank, okay? They produce the average of what already exists. They cannot distinguish the excellent from the mediocre, so they go for the average. And this quote's from the article. It says, we're approaching a point where AI-generated content becomes indistinguishable and platforms are catching on. If you're just cranking out the average, nothing's going to rank well. People don't want the average. People want to learn something new. That's why they're online. That's why they're researching the topic. If you're not giving them something new, they will click off or they won't click at all. Now, what does this mean for marketers? You're a small business owner, you're a founder, you're the head of marketing for your organization. What's your key takeaway here, folks? The takeaway is important. There are no shortcuts to high-performing content. Effective marketing still requires time, effort, data, consistency, expertise, and original thinking. This is what I bring to my accounts. This is what any good marketer or chief content person worth his or her salt will do. AI is a tool, not a replacement for good writing. I use AI, I use it to outline things, I use it to summarize documents, and I will occasionally use it to help me get unstuck. I'm not good, I will just admit it freely, I'm not good at writing catchy headlines. AI can help me take a headline I've written and I say, make it catchy. And it can do that. But you cannot, people, rely on it to write your content. It's not going to do it. It's going to generate content for you. It's going to generate readable content. It'll look good on the surface. But what we know is that there's no original thinking in it. And at the end of the day, Google is apparently putting more emphasis on expertise, original thinking, and the human-centered factor. AI is not giving you that. So the practical takeaways, why should you use AI? Well, use it for drafting, use it for brainstorming, outlining, and research acceleration. It is great for research acceleration, right? I have asked it to find me the latest and greatest on topic XYZ, and boom, I've got a list of links. I can then go in and read them myself. I've asked it to outline things for me. It does a great job. It is often goes completely overboard with an outline and gives me like a 20-page outline for a 500-word article. But that's where the human factor comes in, right? You go in and you edit that and you cut it down. But you should rely on humans for insight, storytelling, differentiation, credibility, and strategy. Oh, strategy is so important. If you are just going into content creation and just churning out content to do it without strategy behind it, you may as well not do it at all. Because again, you're going to produce the sea of sameness. You're just adding noise to the market without a purpose, without a focus, and without a reason. So make sure that the people in your organization or the consultants that you bring in are helping you with these points down here: insight, storytelling, differentiation, credibility, and strategy. So the bottom line, AI can scale content, but it cannot scale quality content. Search engines and audiences reward originality, expertise, and human perspective. We need human writers because the right words matter. Here are the links to the research. I will pause and let you write down the names and the titles. If you stick these into Google, you will be able to find them. So take a look, write these down. You can always pause my video here and write them down yourself, but this is where I got the information and the statistics that I have cited in this talk today. So guys, the bottom line, people still matter. AI can accelerate processes, it can accelerate production, but it can't layer in the quality and the storytelling and the originality that we need. I would urge you to go back to using human writers. They're out there. I know it's expensive. It is better to produce high quality content than mass produced generic AI based content. Questions? You can find me through my company, Seven Oaks Consulting, SEVENOAKS Consulting.com. My name is Jeanne Grunert. I have over 30 years of experience marketing and writing. I serve as a fractional chief marketing officer, content strategist, and writer for numerous companies in the United States as a freelance, part-time, contract, fractional, whatever you like to call it, but a helper that can come in and help you when you need these helps. Give me a call, look at my website, check it out. Please do subscribe to our Monday Marketing Motivation, or now dubbed Marketing Motivation. We really love to hear from you. I love to hear from viewers and readers. So drop me a note if you have any questions. I'm here to help. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Go out and find yourself a human to write your content. Take care. Bye.